Hi folks, and welcome to this week's video tutorial on opening Tabia. For this series, we will be starting on a new topic, the central cannon versus the three-step tiger. Now, this is another very interesting opening, and when Black plays this opening, usually it would mean that he's a very aggressive player and would choose to play more aggressive variations. Now, one common result is that because of the ferocity of the variations, often there'll be early confrontations of the troops that would result in rapid exchanges of materials, so much so that if both colors were to play their opening correctly, the situation on the board would be quickly simplified. So without further ado, let us begin. The central cannon, left proper horse, and because red chose to play p3 plus 1 instead of r1 equals to 2, which is this is also possible. With this move, red would want to develop his horse and prevent the development of black's horse in the same file. But with p3 plus 1, red did not move r1 equals to 2, and this would give black the opportunity to play c8 equals to 9. Now, these three moves are called the three-step tiger or san bu hu in Chinese. So, moving the horse, chariot, and moving the cannon away to give the chariot an open line. So, this would be the name of Black's opening, the three-step tiger. Now, red would usually continue with h8 plus 7. This is considered to be a sound and considered to be a sound and orthodox counter, whereby red would now prepare to develop both horses. Black would usually counter with p3 plus 1, since red had already played p3 plus 1. Making this move would limit this horse and allow for development of his horse. Now, this is a subtle and powerful counter that is quite the norm that is seen nowadays. Now, in the first 2 or 3 boards, red would continue to attack with c8 plus 4. Now, thus far, neither of the red chariots have been moved. So, by advancing the cannon across the river to black's pawn rank, red would now be targeting the pawn, which cannot advance because of p3 plus 1. Also, if black played h2 plus 3, red would have the option of c equals 7 to block and hinder the development of this horse and also allow for development of his own chariot. This is a very effective tactical combination that is used in similar opening variations in various opening systems. So now at this point in time, the opening system will start to diverge. In the first 3 boards, we will discuss black playing h2 plus 3. Later on, black would play c2 equals to 5 for the deferred opposite direction cannons, which is the recommended way of playing the opposite direction cannons in modern times. In the past, c2 plus 5 followed by c2 plus 5 is considered to be a bad move, and usually red will gain the upper hand in most of the variations. So h2 plus 3 in the first 3 boards will be black's defense, whereby he will adopt the screen horse defense formation. Now, as mentioned earlier, the horse is ready to go, so red will block it, flatten the elephant, and also allow for development of his left chariot. And since red was prepared to play r9 equals to 8, black would play r1 equals to 2 before red can, and hopefully apply a blockade. So r9 equals to 8. And in this board, black would consolidate his defenses because of the threat of c7 plus 3 over here. And red would develop his chariot to the riverbank. Likewise, black would do the same, so within a span of 8 moves, most of the major pieces, except for this chariot, have been moved. And Black would now patrol the riverbank. The first site of confrontation would be the riverbank in this situation. Now, in the past, the old school counter was c2 equals to 1 to offer a trade of chariots, and after trading chariots, red will play r1 plus 1, and at this point in time, we can see that this chariot was prepared to play r2 equals to 8 to attack this flank. Now, this flank is quite vulnerable. The elephant had moved, and there are only 2 pieces. So, it is very prone to enemy attacks, and usually red would have the advantage. So that is why nowadays, instead of c2 equals to 1, black would play r8 plus 4 to patrol the riverbank and to try to uh, look for opportunities to seize the initiative. Now at this point, there are 2 major variations that were discussed. The first, both would involve offering a trade of chariots. The first would be r1 equals to 2, and the other would be c7 equals to 3. And the trade of chariots will occur later on. Now, in variation A, r1 equals to 2, red would try to dislodge this black chariot because it has now occupied quite a very favorable position. So by offering a trade of material, usually black would accept. After trading material, black would again trade away red's chariot. So now this is the reason why black played r8 plus 4 earlier on. Now, it will be advisable for red to accept the trade. Now, if r8 equals to 6 were played, the cannon will now be threatened, forcing it away. This flank will now be okay, but although the cannon will start attacking the chariot, it will simply advance. As can be seen, this will be a major weakness at this point in time. So red would have much to worry about, and that is why, because his left flank was weak, it would be advisable for red to accept the trade. But usually after trading material, this by the 11th ply, this would now have become a chariotless situation, and this would be usually a test of the player's skill in the endgame and mid-game, especially in the endgame phase. So we will play c7 equals to 3 to gain the pawn advantage. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pawns versus black's 4 pawns. Black would move the horse. Red would do likewise. Black would be faster in getting to the riverbank and thus prevent h3 plus 4 from happening. But red will be compensated with an extra pawn. So now it will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pawns versus black's 3 pawns. But black will be compensated with a horse that has now commanded one of the focal points on the board. And black would usually capture a pawn in retaliation, and this is basically an even situation. Again, this will be a test of the patience of the player's skill in the endgame phase. So this would be variation A. Now in variation B, red will not track chariots but capture the pawn so that black would not have a chance to play p7 plus 1 to trade material. Now doing so will lead to a very complicated situation where there are many possibilities. Now usually one of red's most powerful pieces of the board now would be this chariot. So black would again offer a trade of chariots, which usually red would accept because this flank was weak. And after trading chariots, instead of offering another trade of chariots, red will develop his right chariot as a ranked chariot, preparing to traverse to the other flank to attack. h2 plus 3, r1 equals to 8, preparing to go for a fork, forcing the horse to the riverbank. And red will again patrol the riverbank. And in the past few rounds, both colors attacked and defended in a very nice manner. Now black will play r4 equals to 3. h4 plus 3, sorry. Now it would not be a good idea to play p1 plus 1 at this point in time because red would have the opportunity to trade pawns, and once both this pawn was traded, both horses would be activated and red would have a slight advantage. So that is why by capturing the pawn, the trade of pawns will not happen. And red will now take the opportunity to change his formation. Black could consolidate his defenses. Red will capture an extra pawn. Now 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces are now vying to attack this flank. Black could apply some sort of pressure. And at this point in time, red would go ahead to attack. Now this is considered to be an equal situation. Red has more pawns, 1, 2, 3, 4 versus black's 1, 2, 3 pawns, but black's men are much more active in this situation. So this is considered to be an equal position or situation for both colors. Now in this board, black used the right proper horse variation, sorry, h8 plus 7, right proper horse variation to counter black's cannon. Now if this is version B. Now this is the old move, but gradually black will have patrolled the riverbank and with the riverbank chariot, and this gave birth to very new possibilities. Let us review the board from the eyes of black. So central cannon, 3-step tiger, because black did not play r1 equals to 2. Sorry, h8 plus 7, p7 plus 1, riverbank cannon, proper horse. Block, develops the chariot, e3 plus 5 to consolidate the defense, 8 plus 4, and we arrived at the position of discussion. Variation A, r1 equals to 2 after trading chariots. This become a very drawish situation. This would be an even situation. Again, red would have an extra pawn, but black's men are much more active. Variation B, instead of trading chariots, red tries to keep his presence known. Rt equals to 1, forcing a trade of chariots, otherwise this flank will be under trouble. Ranked Chariot, black could charge the horse across the river. Red adjusts his formation, and at this point in time, black would have more active men, but red would have the pawn advantage in this situation. So comparatively speaking, r1 equals to 2 variation, this variation whereby red offered to trade chariots is rather drawish, and c7 equals 3 would offer more opportunities for both colors. So if all were played correctly, this would be a probable position in variation B. So again, in the first 3 boards, black would not counter with the different opposite direction cannons, but will use the screen house formation to defend. So I hope you like this variation. I played this variation as black quite often, especially when red pushes the pawn forward and does not want to. Red pushes the pawn forward. I will usually go for the 3-step tiger, but I would choose to play the different opposite direction cannons because it's quite a fun and volatile variation, which will be introduced a few videos later. So if you like the work that I've been doing, please do subscribe to my channel and give me a thumbs up. Thank you.